Good morning, everybody. Mike's MMA Picks here with your Fight Morning Quick Card Breakdown show brought to you by MMA Oddsbreaker and BetDSI. We're here for the final UFC event of 2020, UFC Vegas 17, where we have Stephen Thompson taking on Jeff Neal. 12 fights, 8 of which are expected to finish. So let's get things kicked off quickly here. We'll burn through this 12-fight card. I know you have a busy fight morning ahead of you, so let's get things rolling here. First fight of the evening, we've got Christos Giagos, former UFC veteran, back for more action on short notice in a catchweight bout against Carlton-Minus. Carlton-Minus, an Alaskan fighter who last time out we saw him get outworked and systematically beaten by Semmelsberger. Carlton-Minus coming in at 6,700 plus 255 at the betting window. On the other side of the fight, we have Giagos coming in at minus 330. So that short notice replacement is a heavy favorite, 9,300 in DraftKings. We've seen Giagos come in typically with great cardio. Questionable in this spot, though, because we do have a short notice bout. This fight is expected to finish at minus 140. Now, I've had my eye on Giagos since he came into the UFC and fought local fighter Chris Wade, and we've seen him in there against Drakkar Klose. He's a grinder. He's actually fought Charles Aldo-Vera and went quite a long time in there with Aldo-Vera. So I expect Giagos to come in here and grind Minus out. Give me Christos Giagos to win. Next up, we head to the men's flyweight division, where we have Jimmy Flick taking on Cody Durden. Cody Durden coming in at 7,500. This is a fight that was rebooked, so these guys have had to cut weight a couple of times in a few weeks. Durden's dropping down a weight class, 225 pounds. We saw him last time out against Chris Gutierrez and looked the part early and then just fell off late, but that was a short notice bout. Durden coming in plus 120, 7,500 in DK. This fight is not expected to go to a decision at minus 245. So I think you're going to want a piece of this fight in DraftKings because these are there are going to be a lot of scrambles in this fight. So just get ready. Jimmy Flick, 15-5 record, 13 submission victories. He also has been knocked out 4 times. So he is a bit of a glass cannon out there. Jimmy Flick, 30 years old, 8,700 in DK, minus 150. Betting favorite. This fight, very tricky. You have the wrestling of Jimmy Flick and the submission game. The other side of the fight, you've got Cody Durden, who's going to come in here and look to push a pace. He goes balls to the wall early, and I suspect we may see Durden get the TKO here, or we're going to see Jimmy Flick lock up a submission and take Durden out of there. So I'm leaning, and I'm going to pick Jimmy Flick in this spot. I think he's got a lot of tools at disposal here. I also am a little wary about Durden coming in at that 125-pound weight class on cutting weight multiple times, but Durden could potentially want this more and knock Jimmy Flick out. We've seen that before, but I'm gonna go with Flick here. Third fight of the night. Let's go. We've got Nchukwi taking on Jamie Pickett. Nchukwi, 4-0 record, Lloyd-Rin fighter. Saw him on the Contender Series, but also before then, this dude is built like a fire hydrant out there, fundamentally sound. He's got some Muay Thai background, still only 26 years of age, minus 320. Betting favorite, 9,400 in DK. Not the highest output fighter, but when he throws strikes, he makes them count. Jamie Pickett, other side of the fight, high volume striker, 11-4 record, 6,800 in DK, plus 245 underdog. This line to me doesn't make a lot of sense. Pickett, 32 years of age, very explosive, never been KO'd. Nchukwi, I mean, he's going to sit back and wait for Pickett to make his move and should capitalize in this spot, but he could be playing with fire against the Pickett who is going to come out and he's not afraid in this spot. He's going to go for it. So I see this fight ending inside the distance. The odds makers suggest the same. This fight's not expected to go to a decision at -335. I'll be picking Nchukwi. I think that he just doesn't make a lot of mistakes out there, and he throws with bad intentions. And when he lands, oof. So I think we may see Pickett knocked out for the first time in his career here. So give me Nchukwi. Next up, we head to the men's catchweight, to a men's catchweight of 195 pounds. We've got Deron Winn taking on Antonio Arroyo. This is interesting matchmaking here. It looks like David versus Goliath here, but you have to understand that Deron Winn has fought at light heavyweight before. He is a grinder and has the wrestling background, but I have some major concerns about Deron Winn, especially coming off of the Gerald Meerschaert loss, where he, prior to the fight, says, if I lose to this guy, then why am I doing this, basically? He's missed weight before at 185 pounds. What has he been up to? I know he had a previous fight booked, and he has the wrestling. He has very short arms, although the reach, you look at that, Antonio Arroyo does only have a 3.5-inch reach advantage. Arroyo, big kicking game in the smaller octagon, could get completely nullified here, could get pushed against the fence and dumped on his ass. And the thing about Deron Winn is, what does he do with his takedowns? Is he going to be positionally sound? Is Antonio Arroyo going to get back to his feet? And that is a real possibility here. Arroyo -170. Arroyo also making a fairly quick turnaround here. Had a fight against Eric Anders, pulled out from under him recently. Deron Winn could be potentially a sneaky play in DraftKings at 7,300. He is going to have that wrestling, and it's just a matter of, is Arroyo going to have time to get off on his strikes? And if he isn't, then Arroyo could potentially be in trouble here against an elite wrestler. Problem is, though, Deron Winn, I do not trust Deron Winn. I don't trust Deron Winn. I'll just say that. He's come up short a number of times. The Darren Stewart fight, he lets people into fights. Eric Spicely, same goes for him too. You heard a lot about Daniel Cormier speaking very highly of Deron Winn. I could potentially see him coming out here and grinding Arroyo out. That is his path to victory. But Antonio Arroyo, I got to say, he's got so many advantages physically in this spot. And Deron Winn really should be fighting at 170 pounds or even lower than that if he had the self-discipline and the work ethic to take the extra pounds off. Move more, eat less. It comes down to that. Somebody who's 5'4", 5'5" shouldn't be fighting at 205 pounds. And I know he's talked about his struggles with weight cutting throughout his entire wrestling career, but he's doing himself a disservice here. And I'll be picking Antonio Arroyo, but I will be pulling for Deron Winn. I'm a fan of his underneath all of this. I'm a big fan of his. So give me Antonio Arroyo. Next up, we've got women's 135-pounders, where we have Pettis-Kianzad taking on Sijara Eubanks. Kianzad coming in with a head of steam here. She still is the underdog at +130, 7,400 in DK, 5'7", 66-inch reach. She's going to be a little bit taller, and she's going to look to keep this fight on the feet. She's got beautiful striking, 8,800, -160 favorite for Sijara Eubanks. Eubanks looked a little bit, looked like she had struggled on the scale today or yesterday, coming off of a controversial decision loss to Caitlin Vieira. She's going to look to come in here, Eubanks, and use that wrestling, use that grappling, use the jiu-jitsu black belt, and try to maintain top position on Kianzad in the smaller octagon. Her striking defense leaves a lot to be desired. And Kianzad, earlier in the week, I was looking to continue to ride Kianzad. I was on her against Betch Correa. In this fight, though, Correa didn't have a grappling game with takedowns, and I think that could potentially be the difference maker here. So I'm going to be picking Eubanks, but it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Kianzad maintain distance and pick Eubanks apart at range. Eubanks, though, is going to look to make this a very ugly fight, land takedowns, grind away minutes, and I see that ultimately being the way this plays out. So give me Eubanks to win. Next up, 170-pounders, where we have the mighty have fallen. Anthony Pettis, 23-10 record, 9,200 in DK, taking on Alex-Morono, coming off of the big win over Reese McKee, $7,000 plus 185 at the betting window. Look for Morono to try to land those overhand rights. He seemed to spam those in the McKee fight. And then also, I don't think we're going to see him try to take this fight to the ground, but he might. 18-6 record, Fortis MMA fighter. Morono from the same camp as Carlos Diego Ferreira. And, you know, they're going to have, Syed's going to have him coached up, ready to implement this game plan. And Pettis, you know, he could get taken down. He's going to look to stay at range and land strikes here, stick and move. If Pettis can't beat Alex-Morono, he should be retiring here. That fight against Donald Cerrone, I thought Cerrone won that fight. You saw Pettis still had a little bit in his tank. The fight against Wonderboy was getting picked apart, and then just boom, that Superman punch against the cage. Man, in this fight, this is a tough one. I'll be picking Anthony Pettis to win in this spot. I just think that Morono is such a big step down in this spot that underneath all this, Pettis has more tools, and hopefully he's got the hunger to continue on, because he could potentially break as he's done in previous bouts. Next up, we head to the men's heavyweight division, where we have Marcin Tybura taking on Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy, only a 7-2 overall record, so he made the transition from football a while ago now. ATT fighter, 32 years of age, 8,500 in DK, minus 120 betting favorite. Tybura is the more well-rounded fighter. 35 years of age, though, now 7,700 minus 110, 20-6 record. Tybura has faced a wrecking crew in there. He's been brutalized, but has come back and passed with flying colors against Ben Rothwell and Maxim Grisham. And in this spot, it all depends on who implements their game first. I think if Greg Hardy is able to come out and start landing on Tybura, he could have his way with Tybura. And the problem is, though, Hardy isn't necessarily a volume striker. He's going to look to make his strikes count, and he could potentially put Tybura out in this spot. Tybura, though, if he's able to weather the early storm of Hardy, can put Hardy on his back and then look to grind Hardy out. And this fight's not expected to go to a decision at minus 185. I'm going to lean and pick Greg Hardy in this spot. I think that he's the more athletic fighter with he's the better, besides being the better athlete, I think he also has a great coaching staff behind him. And I think that's going to be the difference maker. He's going to come out here with a good game plan, and he may potentially drop Tybura. But it wouldn't surprise me one bit to see Tybura use his fight IQ and win this fight, and use his grappling, because he does have a significant grappling edge in this spot. Next up, we head to the 125-pound women's division, where we have Taila Santos, 16-1 record, 8,200 in DK, minus 115 at the betting window, 27 years old, taking on Jillian Robertson, who's still only 25 years of age, and she's racking up submission after submission, $8,000, minus 115 at the betting window for Robertson, 9-4 record. Now, you've got a specialist in Jillian Robertson taking on the more well-rounded fighter in Taila Santos. Taila Santos is, in my eyes, the better fighter in almost all respects, except for wrestling and the jiu-jitsu game. Though Taila Santos, in my eyes, is going to use her length in this spot. And that could be a difference maker here. So especially on the ground, that could come into play. I could see Tyler Santos actually having a little bit of success on the ground and using her length on the ground. Robertson, though, is going to come out here, and she has, in my eyes, no striking whatsoever. She can't. You saw in the previews that she was working with Wonder Boy, etc., but I don't trust her striking. And I'm gonna anticipate Jillian Robertson looking to take this fight to the mat and then keep it there. And this was a tough one. I was leaning towards picking Santos most of the week, but I will ever so slightly, and I will pick Jillian Robertson. I think whoever does win, they're going to look dominant in this spot. So Tyler Santos could just put it on Robertson. And Santos is the tale of two fighters. You saw against Barella when she came out, looked like a deer in the headlights. You can't be losing to Barella out there. And then came in, looked like a prime Nova Niao fighter, looked like Jose Aldo in his prime out there during times against the Molly McCann fight. So very tough fight to call. It depends. We're going to know right off the bat who we're dealing with out there when in the first few minutes. So give me Jillian Robertson, but I'm not counting Santos out of this fight at all. Next up, 135-pounders, where we have Marlon Moraes, Magic Man, taking on Rob Font. Rob Font, 17-4 record, 7,200 in DraftKings, plus 125 at the betting window. You've got a Rob Font who is, he's getting up there in age, coming off of an injury. He's coming in here with a 5-inch reach advantage. Marlon Moraes, real gut check against Corey Sandhagen. Got blown out of the water in that spot. Came in with huge amounts of confidence. Couldn't get it done. 23-7-1 record. $9,000 in DraftKings. Minus 155 betting favorite. 32 years of age. Marlon Moraes. It's either Marlon Moraes early or Rob Font late in this spot. I think there's a live betting opportunity if you've ever had one. I am going to be picking Rob Font in this spot. I think that they're doing great things over in Boston over there with him and with Calvin Cater as well. I think Chartier and the crew out there have something brewing, and I'll be picking Rob Font. I think that down the stretch, although I know Ricky Simone was able to have some success against Rob Font, I think that we're going to see Marlon Moraes come out here. And if Marlon Moraes is on, if his timing's on and he's precise and he's landing, he could hurt Rob Font and take him out of there. But I'll be picking Rob Font to win here. I think that the longer this goes, especially if it gets extended into the third round, we're going to see Rob Font turn it on. Just look out for Marlon Moraes' leg kicks, though. That they could be a potential difference maker, because Font could lean on that lead foot early and get it chopped off. Next up, men's 170-pound division, where we have Michelle Pereira taking on Chaos Williams. And Kaylin Williams, 60, he's got an 11-1 record. You watch his fights on the regional scene before coming to the UFC, and he leaves a lot to be desired out there. Go back and watch the Jeremy Holloway fight and tell me there aren't significant liabilities on the stand-up as far as the striking defense goes. Everybody sees these one-punch knockouts against Al-Hassan, against Morono. 7,900 in DK, minus 105 at the betting window. 4-inch reach advantage for Williams. He has 6 knockouts in 11 wins. Michelle Pereira is the more well-rounded fighter when it comes down to it. If you take away all the flashy stuff, he's got great wrestling. He has great jiu-jitsu. If he took the flashy stuff out of his game, he is a solid fighter through and through. The Zelim Imadaev fight just totally pieced him up and walked through him. He could have torched Diego Sanchez, was winning all aspects of that fight. Also could have done the same with Tristan Connolly, but decided to be a showman. Minus 125 at the betting window, I think he is the favorite. He's the more well-rounded fighter. The problem is, though, we know Williams has that touch of death that he could potentially take Pereira or any other opponent out with one strike. This fight is not expected to go to a decision at minus 270. And you look at those 11 losses on Michel Pereira's record, and they do mean something. I mean, that speaks to bonehead in-fight decision-making. And I understand why folks are hesitant to put their hard-earned money on Michel Pereira. And I could see Giagos-Williams coming out here and hurting Pereira early. But I think the more likely outcome is that Michel Pereira does win this fight and uses his grappling in this spot. Giagos-Williams, you see him sprawl and brawl often. He's got those big punches, but we haven't seen much wrestling, haven't seen much jiu-jitsu out of him, and I'll be picking Michel Pereira in this spot. I think that he's just going to be too much. He's got to play the distance game and be very cognizant of where his head's at and taking his head off of the center line, in and out, etc. So give me Michel Pereira in that spot. Next up, we've got Jose Aldo taking on Marlon Chito Vera. 7,600 for Vera, plus 125 underdog, 18-6-1 record. The reach here is nullified. Size, I suspect Jose Aldo is going to be the bigger fighter come fight night. Aldo really, he's cut for the third time to 135 pounds. 28-7 record, your former featherweight champion. Fought 3 solid rounds against Petr Yan at the highest level you could possibly fight. Elite performance for 3 rounds, and then the wheels fell off. 8,600, minus 155 betting favorite for Jose Aldo. Marlon Vera has dropped the first round in many fights. He was losing the fight against O'Malley before he kicked that leg. And in this spot, I am leaning and picking Jose Aldo here. I think that he is the better fighter with the better hardware. He is, believe it or not, extremely durable. And I wonder how much the hellacious beating has taken out of him that took place in the 5th round against Petr Yan. I mean, he did not need to take such a brutal beating in that spot. It was over. And I think that's baked into this line here, though in almost all aspects of the fight, except maybe jiu-jitsu, Jose Aldo has an advantage in this spot. Vera, though, cardio and maybe the clinch, and that's about it. Every other aspect of the fight, Aldo, in my eyes, is the better fighter, and I think we're going to see Jose Aldo get back on the winning track here. Although, if there are no certainties in this game, and if Jose Aldo is showing any signs of being gun-shy and is not handling the strikes well, then Vera could just hop right on this and mentally break Jose Aldo, though I'm going to be picking Aldo in this spot. Next up, we have Stephen Thompson taking on Geoff Neal in the main event of the evening, the final fight of 2020. We've got Geoff Neal coming in, 75-inch reach, 13-2 record, 8,400 in DK, minus 115. And on the other side of the fight, you've got Stephen Thompson, who's also minus 115. 15-4-1 record. Wonder Boy had collarbone issues earlier in the year, coming off of that tremendous win against Vicente Luque. But then you look at Geoff Neal, and he didn't come out of 2020 unscathed. Spent some time in the hospital with congestive heart failure and really was on the shelf for a while, for a few months after that bout. This fight's not expected to go to a decision at minus 175. Stephen Thompson getting up there in age, 37 years old now. You know, the way I see this fight playing out, if Geoff Neal comes out and starts showing Wonder Boy respect and stays at range, he's going to get picked apart. And the longer this fight goes, I do question Jeff Neal's cardio. Even though Stephen Thompson's the older fighter, we know that Stephen Thompson has no issues going 5 rounds, and he's able to get in and get out. And he's the more technical striker, and also defensively is incredibly sound. And he's not going to put himself in situations where he's going to get lit up. But Jeff Neal may want to come out and get this fight. And if he comes out here and pushes a pace and forces Thompson to exchange, he may look silly, or he may, start landing these body kicks. He's got to hunt for Thompson and not go. He can't go chasing the head of Thompson. He's got to look for the body if he's going to have success, in my eyes, in this spot. I'll be picking Stephen Thompson, but I understand this is a very closely aligned fight. I think that Thompson is just the more precise, higher technical striker, and I'm going to be picking him to win here. Though Jeff Neal could come out here. I've been high on Jeff Neal. He's won me money in the past, and I do respect his abilities. So give me Stephen Thompson to win. Go out and get what yours, my friends. Enjoy the fights. You can follow me on Twitter at MikesMMAPicks. You can follow me at MMA Oddsbreaker Premium, where I have a couple of plays up for this fight card. And I want to thank everybody for their support throughout 2020. Had a tremendous year. It's been a blast, and this train doesn't stop here. We are continuing this on in 2021, and let's go get it, baby. Let's do it.